Hello, Dave Seaton. Welcome to the Doing CX Right show.
Thanks, Stacy. This is pretty cool because I've been listening to this podcast since way back before the pandemic. So, what an honor to be on it.
Oh, thank you for that. Very kind and warms my heart. And I'm excited to share your wisdom and gifts as I've gotten to know you so much more in the past year and especially 2024. So, my audience will get to understand why you are intentionally chosen for this show. So, before we do that, please tell listeners, who are you, Dave? What do you do for a living?
I am a consultant. So, I'm CEO and principal consultant at Seaton CX, where we help customer experience leaders create compelling customer journey maps with our DARMA method.
The DARMA method. All right, we'll go into that. Before we do, what is a fun fact that people might not know about you? They can't read it on LinkedIn, they can't read it on Instagram. What might that be?
I am a musician and multi instrumentalist and producer and composer. And so I spend what little free time I have creating music.
I did not know that. So we'll have to take that offline later.
That sounds great.
Yes. And now the younger Dave. As you know, my favorite question. So, if you could go back in time and talk to 20-year-old Dave, what would you say to him that you know now that you didn't know then?
Yeah. So this isn't the first company that I've started. In my 20s, I started a software company and ended up getting burnt out and frustrated and pulling the plug on what was a profitable, successful online game that was loved by the players. And had I waited one more year, something really significant happened. Steve Jobs launched the iPhone. And if I had waited and made that transition, I'd be in a whole different place right now. So, what I would tell that guy is I would say, stop trying to do everything yourself. Stop trying to figure out everything for the first time. Go get a mentor. And then, if you don't like doing customer service, go hire somebody to do customer service. If you don't like doing accounting or advertising, go hire somebody to do that. Leverage the help of your mentor to figure out where you should be making those decisions. Don't try and figure everything out all by yourself.
And did you work for another company or you just started in your young youth working for yourself?
No, I did. I had a full-time job as a computer programmer. And so I would go program for 8 or 9 hours a day for a telecom company. And then I would come home, and from 6 o'clock at night till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I would go work on this software company that I had started. Again, trying to do everything all by myself that I'd never done before and just burned myself out. I had to figure out what to do with players who were cheating. And then, when I banned this guy that was cheating, then he said he had some sort of exploit and he was going to hack my website and take it down. And so then I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning going through all the code, trying to find a injection attack vulnerability. And I just burned myself out trying to do everything.
Yeah, that's very relatable for entrepreneurs listening. And I also think that Gen Z listening could really relate because they don't want to go to corporate. They want to be entrepreneurs now. And that's a debatable question. Do they go work for someone and then try their own, or try their own and make mistakes? And maybe that's the way. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, everybody can kind of find their own path. Just, get a coach, get a mentor. If you
Yeah.
don't know how to do something, don't spin your wheels trying to figure it out for the first time. Learn from somebody
Yeah.
who can help you and help you do things faster. I just in my business, I'm about to celebrate my third anniversary of being full time in this business. There's a very specific hurdle that I'm struggling with now after 3 years. I just on Tuesday hired a new coach who knows how to do this one thing. We're going to work together for the next 12 weeks. I'm going to get over this hurdle and keep growing this business.
Mm.
And
Yeah, you're speaking then the advice that you're taking your own advice, which I love. And
yes.
I want to bring this now to customer experience because a lot of people may not know how to do journey mapping and know how to do some of the things we're talking about. So, before we dig deep in that, first of all, this is the Doing CX Right show.
Mhm.
So, I like to ask, because so many people have different perspectives, as do I, what does doing customer experience right mean to you?
Well, can I start by telling you what doing CX wrong looks like?
That's probably easier, but yes.
Here's what doing CX wrong looks like. You go get some customer feedback, either because it's a touch point that you control or somebody told you to send a certain kind of survey to a certain kind of people, and you make a list of pain points and you start whacking those pain points. It's like that old arcade game of whack-a-mole where a mole pops up and you whack it and then another one pops up over here. And you spend a couple of years whacking those pain points, and then you sit back and you've got a list of changes that you've made and maybe some heartwarming customer stories, but you haven't made any measurable impact on the business outcomes, and your budget gets cut. And then you're not doing CX anymore. So, what I would do instead, what I advise clients to do, start with understanding who their customer is, because you do have a target customer. Really big companies can have multiple target customers for different endeavors, but understand who that customer is, what their needs, goals, and values are, and then understand that journey. That's where journey mapping comes in and becomes so foundational to understand what are the activities that the customer is doing as they attempt to accomplish their goal. What are they thinking and feeling along the way? And then you can look at that journey and you can understand what are those critical moments that have a disproportionate impact on that customer's experience. Now you know where to go focus your improvement opportunities that's going to improve customer outcomes and business outcomes too. Customers are going to stay longer, spend more, tell others, and cost less to serve.
So I agree with all of the doing CX wrong and doing CX right feedback tremendously.
Thank
Now,
you.
here's also reality. So, me being in the trenches in corporate since birth, I feel like that the reality is companies say, well, we don't have time to bring people across the organization for a day or really more to map out the customer journey. And it was like pulling teeth actually for me to fight that battle and explain the why, and
Mhm,
that it's not just a one time thing.
mhm.
What do you say to those naysayers or people that are saying just don't have the time or investment?
Yeah, it comes down to really understanding what is the problem that you're trying to solve or the opportunity that you're trying to pursue and what the value to the company is.
Mhm.
If you can attach to a customer churn problem that you're having, a customer relations problem that you're having, an opportunity for new revenue, then you can show the dollar amount of what understanding and improving this experience would do for the company. And that's where I've had success, in my 21 years in corporate, and then also as a consultant, is building the business case to invest in a customer
Mm.
journey mapping initiative. Um,
Mhm.
a client I worked with last year, they came to me and said, we've identified through our data that our biggest area of customer churn is between 12 and 24 months. Once customers sign up, they typically stay at least 12 months. And if they stay past the 24-month customer churn, or customers leaving the company, like, drops off significantly. They said, we don't understand what's happening between 12 and 24 months. And by the way, here's the revenue impact that we're losing when those customers go to a competitor, right? They understood the customer lifetime value, how long customers typically stay, what those customers pay, what the lifetime value of those customers are. So then we had a business case to go do an experience map, which is just a journey map of the end-to-end experience. And we found they actually had three very different types or segments of customers, three groups of customers that had different needs, goals, and values. And for each of those groups, we identified what were those critical moments where they made that decision, either I'm going to stay or I'm going to switch. And now, with those insights, that company is doing some incredible things. They're brainstorming new products, they're building new infrastructure, they're changing, they're creating in the customer service contact center. They're creating like um, what do they call it at the supermarket? The express lane, right? So if they identify that, oh, this person that called me is in this key target persona, we're going to route them to the express lane because this is a moment of truth. It's happening right now for this customer on the phone. So they're doing incredible things that they didn't have that kind of insight into their customers, the needs, goals, and values, and those moments where they were losing customers between 12 and 24 months.
Mm. I love that you talk about that because I'm really passionate on the topic of loyalty, retention, and so many companies are putting all their money into acquisition. And yet, there's a gold mine in keeping what you have, nurturing and growing, and referrals we know is so powerful. So,
Mhm.
I want people to understand that is part of the why journey mapping is so essential. It's not a nice to do, it's a have to do if you want retention,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I know at least in B2B, the
Yeah.
stat is it costs 5 to 7 times more to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. And that was, the work that my team did back when I was in corporate, understanding customer needs, goals, and values, improving those journeys. We reduced customer churn for the number one reason they were churning. We reduced that by 66%, and
Mhm.
that was a huge chunk of revenue that the company didn't lose.
Yeah.
It was already there, right? And they didn't lose it because we listened to those customers and made changes in those moments of truth with the parts of the journey that they really valued.
I want to echo what you just said because everybody's thinking about revenue growth, acquire more dollars. But what you just said, and I see this also, it's what you didn't lose. There's got to be so much more emphasis on that in any size company. What you didn't lose, that opportunity that you saved. Why aren't people talking about that enough?
I don't know. I mean, we've been talking about the leaky bucket for at least a decade now as we've transitioned into this subscription economy. And, but yeah, it is revenue growth to not lose customers.
The leaky bucket. That's fabulous. Say
Yeah.
more for people who are scratching their heads, because that's a great phrase.
Yeah. So you got a bucket full of water, right? And the water represents money. And you've got a hole in the bucket, and the money is pouring out the bottom. And your sales team's trying to pour more water into the top of the bucket and patch the hole.
It's a great visual. Oh, that is fabulous. Of course, Dave, that is fabulous.
Well, thank you.
So now people are listening and saying, okay, you got me. Journey mapping's important. All right. How do I do it? Where do I start?
Yeah. That's a lot of the clients that we end up working with say, okay, I mean, one client described it this way. She said, I feel like it's a little irresponsible to be running a CX program without having an understanding of the journey. Another one said, it seems like it should be simple, but it's so complex. And that's how I felt too 5 years ago when I started trying to figure this out for the first time. And it felt like, like the dark arts, like you had to, read this book and go to this forum and talk to this person and, piece together all of the different aspects. And now, thanks to marketing companies and search engine optimization ploys, now the internet is full of really bad advice. So there is a um, very large CRM vendor who will remain nameless, who has a video on YouTube called How to Make a Customer Journey Map in 1 hour. And they basically tell you to get a sheet of paper, divide it into 3 columns, write awareness, consideration, and purchase, and then use your imagination to think what customers are thinking and feeling in these phases. And an hour later, you'll have a customer journey map. You'll have a map of your own opinions, right? But you
Yeah.
haven't talked to a single customer. And so over the last 5 years, as I've worked on journey maps in B2B and B2C and B2B2C, we've done customer journeys and employee journeys and patient journeys and doctor journeys. I've figured out there's 5 steps. And so I created DARMA, which is my company's acronym. It's just an acronym for the 5 steps of journey mapping so that we've got a roadmap that makes this easy.
Yeah.
Step 1, D, define the problem that you're trying to solve. That's that's where you scope the effort you're going to do, decide which customer you're going to focus on, what journey you're going to map, what's in scope, what's out of scope, what's the business case for making this investment. That's your define phase. Step 2 is analyze. It's where you analyze the current state. What does the company already know about this customer and this journey? What metrics do we have? What opinions do we have? What do we believe is true? What have we already done? Maybe there's some survey data or some quant analysis that we want to pull in. And this is going to inform our journey hypothesis. Then you get to step 3, R, which is research the customer experience. And this is the most important step because the quality of your research determines the quality of your insights and the quality of your map. If you skimp out on this step, you're not going to have deep, actionable insights that are going to move the business. And so we do combination of qualitative and quantitative research. Typically for the qual, we're doing customer interviews. And we do, typically around 30 interviews. We're looking for something we call saturation, which is where we stop hearing anything new from customers. Um, and we do all that research. That's the R step. M is map. Here's where you're going to analyze your research, determine how many personas you have, not based on marketing, not age and demographic and where they live and marketing personas. We want to look at, from our interviews, from our qualitative research, what are the customer needs, goals, and values that are unique to a persona and a journey. Then we'll map the journey, create that compelling visual that tells the customer's story, identifies the improvement opportunities, and gets the organization ready to change. And then
Yeah.
step 5 is another A, and that's act on the insights. If your journey
Yeah.
map doesn't drive change, it's just an art project. Hang it on the refrigerator, make your mother proud. It's got to drive change. And so that's step 5 in the process.
I love it. I love it's an art project. But it's true. If you don't take action from it, it was pointless and meaningless.
Yeah, a very expensive art project.
Yeah.
Now, there's a hidden step too, Stacy, and it's not a step on its own because it weaves through all the others, and that's change management. And that's from the beginning, when you're defining the problem, all the way through the research, the mapping, and then the acting. You're engaging the stakeholders that have to be on board to make those changes happen and make those changes stick. And we've got some very specific tricks that we do to get those stakeholders engaged and keep them engaged. The worst thing you can do, right, is go into your executive leadership meeting and say, hey guys, I made a customer journey map and here it is. No one's going to care. They're not going to
Yes.
know what it is. They're not going to know why you did it, and they're not going to care
Yes.
about it.
Yes.
When we weave change management through the whole process, by the time we deliver the map, they're begging for it. And then they're saying, yes, yes, that's what I heard when I observed that customer interview. That's what I've been talking about with my colleagues through this process. You've captured it. Now, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah. Great high level overview. And that's fabulous. And we're going to talk a little bit more in the encore, which is a special release of the show. So people who want to dig deeper, more to come on that. I want to also preface for people to understand that journey mapping not only is a tool, a process to actually put yourself in the customer's shoes, but it also helps break silos within your company so that everybody understands the domino effect. With that said, and talking about inside the company, because we're coming down to the end, this goes so fast. Leadership has to really buy in and understand the art and the science, I call heart and science of customer experience, which journey management and journey mapping is part of. What would you say in terms of leadership? What is the best advice that you've received, Dave, in your corporate life or that you've given others as you're a mentor to others and you have a mentor?
I think you've had Daniel Goleman on your show, who I've never
Yes.
met, but is one of my heroes.
Ooh.
He of course wrote Emotional Intelligence. He wrote a book called Primal Leadership as well. And the nugget of wisdom is you have to adapt your leadership style and your communication style for the situation that you're in. And he talks about, in some situations, a authoritative leadership style is necessary to break through barriers and turn around a company. But in other situations, that kind of militaristic style kills creativity and ruins the culture. And it's the same thing with communication. I like disc profiles. I'm I'm a high C. I'm very analytical. You can probably tell from my processes and methods and statistics and everything. If I'm talking to somebody who is a high I, they're very big on connecting, and they're an extrovert. They may not appreciate processes and analytics and rigor. I may have to change my communication style so that I'm speaking the language that they're comfortable hearing. And when I do that, when I learned that and when I practiced that as a corporate leader, that's where I began to build relationships and alliances that were necessary to do this kind of cross functional, cross silo change work.
Mm, very true. And it is one of my top episodes. He's amazing. So I do encourage people to listen to that one too. Well, Dave, as we're coming to the end, what is the one takeaway that you want people to remember and go do? Don't think, don't talk, go do. What would that be?
Understand your customer needs, goals, and values, and what your customer is doing as they attempt to accomplish their goal. That should be the foundation of customer experience management.
Mm. Well, thank you for being here. And I will have in the show notes all the ways to reach you, Dave, on your website and your socials. I know people will want to contact you. And just thank you for sharing your wisdom with all of us today.
Thanks, Stacy.